So you know how you go away and you leave your garden in the hands of your spouse? Maybe you come back and it doesn't look exactly tip-top. Well, that's what just happened to me. Actually, no, I give my husband a lot of credit for all of the help that he gives me throughout the gardening season and everything. However, I did just go away on a trip to New York. It was fairly unexpected. I left to go be with family. And I came back to stuff that made me go, oh my God, now I have so much to take care of here again. Hi, you guys. This is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in Growing Zone 8B in southeastern North Carolina. We are in the front of my garden, and I want to show you some things that are looking really weird very suddenly. I'm not blaming my husband for it. I'm just telling you, this is seriously what happened. So I show you my Lantana all the time, one of my beautiful specimens to welcome you up to my front porch. Well, look at all of these like dying leaves on here now. Some of them are spotted and looking wonky. I'm thinking the reason has to be the deer spray that I used, which by the way is working. I don't know what else it could be. We did get our roof redone and we did have this area covered. The roofing people did cover it to protect the plants. This was here after the fact, but I'm not blaming them for it because it's weird and because it looks spotty. I have a feeling it's the liquid fence is the spray that I'm using. So your Lantana might not like it. That's what I'm thinking. And let me show you another problem that I'm having. Again, no blame, just something I know I need to handle. This pot has gotten so disgusting. So I've had the snake plant in here along with the Dipladenia for 3 years now, and I haven't had problems. Now the snake plant occasionally will get some spots on it, and that's from getting too much water because there is a little bit of a mismatch in here between the Dipladenia and the snake plant. So I think what happened we had a ton of drought earlier in the year, and then all of a sudden a ton of rain for a really long time. I think the Dipladenia got super happy and the snake plant got super unhappy and started to suffer from root rot. Now I've propagated this plant into so many new plants and pots. I have a lot of it. But what's going to happen is I'm going to have to dig out this snake plant. The season's coming to an end anyway, and this pot will overwinter inside, but I'm going to have to completely dig out this snake plant. If I can salvage any of it, I will, but I don't know. The Dipladenia, since I got home from my New York trip, is also looking terrible. Now, this is the first time it has looked bad the entire year, and the only thing I can attribute that to is us going through this dry spell again. It's been hot like summer and it hasn't been raining and it's been weeks. So this guy probably has not been getting enough water. That's what I'm thinking. So it's like too much on the snake plant, too little on the Dipladenia. So something to keep in mind when you're putting your pot arrangements together. Now, this one I am going to blame my husband for. I want to show you a little comparison here. These are my Vitamums. We're stepping that way, honey, next to those Vitamums in the yard. Same exact plant, purchased at the same exact time, but these ones were on the porch, which meant they needed to be watered while I was away. These ones are getting the bit of irrigation that we still had going on, etc. Well, you can see these guys are thirsty. So my potted plants on the porch, they need a little bit more. I am, however, going to say that my Vitamums, again, these guys right here, when you look at them compared to my regular plain old garden mums that are out in my peninsula garden, when you look at that comparison, you're going to see how amazing even these are in comparison to those. So this pot of begonias and ivy I actually brought home from my mom's house in New York. My mother is also a green thumb, but of course her growing season's really different from mine. And so this pot was just basically going to die on her back patio. They already had gotten hit with frost 2 nights. And so this has suffered a bit, but I told her I was going to take this pot home and nurse everybody back to health. And if I needed to overwinter this guy in the greenhouse with my begonias, then I would do that and then just give it back to her in the spring. So this pot right here is going to give me a little bit of color still temporarily, and plus the ivy is nice, so I might take a few snippets of it, but otherwise nursing this guy back to health. And let me show you one other thing I brought back from New York in case you didn't catch my recent video about garden decor. I'm so proud of this piece of DIY garden decor. This is something also from New York. While I was visiting with my father, I had asked him if he would help me build this easel that was meant to be in my garden, and I needed the wood that my dad had from cutting down a tree in his yard. And so we built this easel together, and you can watch the video all about like the dimensions, how we put it together, etc. And so I have some, I think this is actually Mandevilla. Mandevilla and Dipladenia look so much alike, and I end up interchangeably using the names, but I think this is Mandevilla. Then this is the sweet potato vine. I have a little bit of creeping Jenny. I have some mums. And the cool thing about this easel, first of all, we built it to be very sturdy. Second of all, you can change out your flowers just like you would any other flower pot arrangement. So seasonally, I can switch out all the things that are in here. I could also move this around my garden so that the view through it or whatever can change depending on what flower bed I place it in. So once again, this is not something that is the blame game for my poor husband, but I did want to point out my other garden mums. These guys have been perennials in my garden for several years already, but I just wanted to show you how gross they are looking compared to those Vitamums. The Vitamums just did not need all the deadheading and all the clipping back to get this to look as beautiful or the flowers to stay as nice as those Vitamums have done. So the Color Up red decorative cabbage looks amazing. It's getting taller. The color is vibrant with the purple and green coming through. And then all the things that we recently saw with my echinacea busting out with brand new blooms again. Last time I showed you, I think I only had 1, and now I have 4. No, I have 5. My blanket flowers are still with plenty of blooms, and like some of these spots look totally fresh with nothing dried whatsoever. So that is the magic, the secret to getting your blanket flowers to stay like that. Deadheading. It's a job I hate. It's a huge job, but oh my gosh, it's super late in the year and that's still looking great. All these things, I can't complain about this at all. So let's go take a peek at how the Island of Misfit Toys is doing, because that was my latest planting area before I went away, and hubby was supposed to be watering that. Let's go see. So we are outside the fence line in the Garden of Misfit Toys, and if you remember, I nicknamed it that because it's that area that you kind of just neglect and everything is just kind of surviving on its own, and this is the most pristine example. This I showed you in my October front yard garden tour because I was astounded at the fact that these cosmos, which I cut back after they had not bloomed for the entire summer, discarded the waste of all the stems and stuff over into my drainage ditch, and boom, I have all these flowers. I had nothing all year long, and here I am so late in the season and I have all these flowers. I just can't believe it. But they are rooted in the ground, so I'm leaving them there. If you remember, I had planted all these evergreens again just before I left for New York. So this is something like blue Pacific juniper. I have 6 of them in the ground. They all look amazing. So hubby did his job keeping them watered, and so can't complain about that. So I have my holly, I have my Anna's Magic Balls, 2 of these here. I have the 4 yellow grasses, Liriope or Liriope in the front. Everything looks super good, so obviously he really did his job out here. But now we gotta go check out what's going on in the back. A really nice surprise to come back to actually is my tropical hibiscus. This is the one that I keep in the ground as perennial, and I've said before, the only thing with keeping the hibiscus, the tropical style, in the ground for me here in zone 8 is the fact that it takes so long to get blooming that it's like you can't enjoy your hibiscus all summer long. So here we are, it's like November's here, and this is the most blooms I've seen on this plant this entire year. So I have 3 full flowers and a countless number more buds on the plant. The height is pretty nice. This whole thing was a big surprise to come home to because our temperatures have been on that beautiful roller coaster of ups and downs, certainly with a lot of cold, but tropical hibiscus doesn't seem to mind. So clearly I have some weeds growing in my secret garden area beside my pool. No problem. Weeds are something that you're always dealing with, and little by little I just pick them as I'm drinking my coffee in the morning or whatever it may be. But here's a problem. This is something that I've noticed. My caladiums are now starting to look, boo, not good at all. I think the problem is they must require a lot of water, and because we were using the irrigation daily during the summer and during all like our heat spell and everything, they seem to be thriving. They kept getting bigger and bushier and standing up tall and looking really vibrant. Now all of a sudden they're looking really raggedy. Like I feel like they're so thin and fragile that I'm not sure what to do. Now I was going to leave a couple of my caladiums out to weather over the winter and just kind of see what happens, because I believe I'm on like a line of where they could potentially survive if I baby them a little bit by like over mulching and stuff. However, now that I see them being so wimpy right now already, I'm kind of concerned I might end up like losing the whole lot. I have already lost one of my 6 100% completely. Like it just started dying like little by little. The strand started to look like this. So it may be in my very near future to dig up these 3 caladium plants, and I will have to overwinter those inside the greenhouse. So the last time you saw my banana trees, I was talking about how they get torn up like this, turn yellow, then brown, and you have to clip them off. Well, the one thing I noticed as soon as I got back from New York was that I had, it felt like 50% of my banana tree fronds looking disgusting, worse than this, fully brown and torn up, or yellow and torn up. So I did a ton of clipping to get this looking a lot better, but I didn't want it to look completely bare and like where you can finally see through it after all these months of not being able to. So I did it nicely, but did a lot of work on the banana trees just today. Something I don't normally talk about are my emerald green arborvitae trees. I've had them, I want to say maybe 7 years probably by now. Each year in like winterish time or colder weather time, I start getting brown needles to the inside of my trees. And it scares me every single time because, you know, trees are an investment. We do not want to lose them at all. So I don't know if you all have the same trouble, but I just kind of take the brown off. I know my husband doesn't like it when I drop them all over the ground, but that's what I do. Take as much of the brown off as I can, and I just say, okay, you're going through your natural life cycle, no worries. So that's my 4 arborvitae trees here. This is my Dragon's Breath celosia. This is the most amazing specimen that I have. Now it's the only one I actually put into the ground. All the other seedlings I had in my yard, I had in pots. But every time I come back around, I'm like, oh my gosh, you look so amazing. So one of the things I will do with this plant specifically is when it's ready to be cut back, I am going to cut some of this for dried flower arrangements for the winter time, because then you get to keep the stunning color, but it's indoors. So I'm looking forward to that. As we're looking in my rock garden area, a couple of things that I just wanted to point out. Mostly everything, you know, looks pretty good, looks pretty much like how I left it. The dianthus that I have over here, though, that was labeled as annual, is looking great. Like, I feel like it's loving maybe this temperature drop that we're having. So the coloring on it's great. And one other thing, I have this Sunny Border Blue Speedwell, which had been a really tall plant that's got like the really interesting, like kind of bluish, purplish, spiky flowers on it. I had cut that whole thing back, and now look at all of this beautiful, luscious growth. So I don't expect it to flower again or anything, but I'm just saying, like, the health of the plant looks amazing for this time of year. Besides that, I'm decently happy with the amount of variation and coloring that I have going on here. Things like the Sunshine Ligustrum shrub in the back, I love the color of it, but now it's starting to get a little bit out of control, and I definitely need to trim that guy back and give him a little bit more shape. So over here, it is very clear that my hostas want to go away. I think they are done. Any hosta I have that is this variety, just a very standard, like cream colored and green, they're done. They're tired. They're ready to be clipped off. So that was a shock to me because that happened while I was away. But what I would like to point out is the contrast between that and the, what is this? A yucca, golden sword yucca that is an evergreen, similar coloring with the green and cream, of course, the yellow in here. But this guy doesn't get phased by the weather. So for me, somebody that has a lot of sun in my gardens where I can't protect everything maybe the way it wants to be, something like this is just an amazing standout feature plant. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of what was happening in the yard right now and how things started to change and how they're looking since I've been gone. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already so my content can keep coming into your feed. And until next time, happy planting.